Okay, hello Steam and Twitch. We're pleased you're here to celebrate the launch of Monster Train with us. My name is Jenesee Gray with publisher Good Shepherd Entertainment, and we're going to talk with our guests about deck building as a genre, Slay the Spire, Monster Train, plus tales from the industry and all sorts of unexpected treats. So, chat, we'll be taking questions for all the devs. Try to keep them applicable to both games if you can. In the meantime, Mark will juggle playing so that his questions will be extra difficult. So, if you have something specific about that, you can ask. But don't worry, we'll have more streams with devs this weekend with Brian. You can ask specific questions about something if it's burning, but just keep it general for now. So let's start with Mark, Anthony, and Andrew introducing themselves. By the way, I get a kick out of just saying Mark Anthony, so I'm just going to keep saying that. Like, it's not a particular order. Whoever wants to go for it.
All right, I'll go. I'm the CEO and founder of Shiny Shoe. I'm Mark. We are the creators of Monster Train, and I'm really happy to be here talking to all you guys. So thanks for being here.
Hi everyone, I'm Anthony Giovannetti. I'm the co-founder of Megacrit Games. We made SLAY the Spire, and the Monster Train guys reached out to me, and I've been playing and enjoying their game, so thought I'd show up.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Crusnik. I am Avram on Discord and Steam forums and stuff like that. If you see me responding to stuff, I am the creative director at Shiny Shoe and the game director on Monster Train, and it's great to see you guys all today. And launch date, super exciting.
Yay! Okay, Anthony, you're up first.
Sure.
Slay the Spire launched, I believe, in 2018. So how was the launch day experience for you? Can you sum that up, all of it, into a paragraph? Because we're all going through it right now today.
Sure, yeah. For us, launch was really interesting because we were just two people at the time, and we had, we didn't have marketing or anything. So we kind of launched into the void with just a couple streamers that we had sent keys to, and it was pretty quiet. And it wasn't until we had built up a couple weeks of updates and just streamer presence that we started to get traction and get going. So I think for us, launch was pretty slow, actually.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Mark, Andrew, obviously this is real time for all of us. So can you take us through some of maybe your favorite development moments? Because there's not as much to talk about with launch unless you have something specific.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think to some degree, I think we can also associate with that feeling of slowly building up. We were just doing it over the weeks and months, kind of also before this. We had an open beta, we had some demo stuff, and just reaching more and more people who don't really know about the game yet or kind of know about us yet. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but that for Shiny Shoe, this is the first on Steam full launched game that's out there. So we're trying to build up awareness and a community on Discord. So yeah, so it's been super exciting, and seeing it grow, from this idea we had quite a while ago now up to this thing that's out today is just super, super exciting.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I'm super excited. I've also made my first misplay while trying to listen to you guys and also play the game at the same time. I chose an artifact that's terrible with transmutators.
Oh yeah, so we're playing the daily challenge right now, which is, speaking of Slay the Spire, definitely inspired. Oh, there's a pun. Didn't even see it coming. Right, which I know.
Inspired, by the way. I'd like to point that
out. Yeah, so the idea here, of course, is that it's a run that you do that changes some game rules. There's a different one every day. Everyone's on the leaderboard every day. It uses the same seed, so it means you're being given the same choices. Artifacts, which if you play Slay the Spire, are called relics. So these passive benefits, where they show up on the map is going to be the same for everyone, no matter previous choices, for example. So you're really sort of trying to figure out how you're going to solve this problem and if you can do it better than other people. Yeah, so Mark's playing today's daily challenge. So if you get the game, you can play the same run with some spoilers going on. Also, I was going to say, daily challenges, those were a little bit later in your development, right? You guys didn't start with them. That was, yeah.
Yeah, so dailies were something we really worked on because at first we were okay, we played other roguelikes like Spelunky and things like that, and we thought, okay, we're going to make it dailies because other roguelikes have it. It was that simple. And so I made these modifiers that made things super hard, threw that out as a daily, and people were like, yeah, this is okay, but we already have Ascensions. It's not that great. It's just kind of random and arbitrarily hard. So then I went back to the drawing board, and then I changed the daily mods to be things that just made it different and interesting. And we pushed that out like a week later, and people liked it so much more that I just kept building on that. So.
Yeah, I think I remember. Yeah, like when that patch happened, because I was like watching at the time, I was playing at the time, and I was like, I'm still not good enough at the base game yet to like get into this stuff. But then started playing, I'm like, these are pretty cool. All right, keep this in the back of my mind. Well, I know even like the seed thing, and I think you've mentioned in the past like Dream Quest being like a starting point for you guys to some degree. And like I believe they also introduced like this idea of seeds being like super important. Like Richard Garfield got involved with them a little bit and was like, hey, by the way, if you guys have the same run for everyone, wouldn't that be cool? And so I think like we're super fortunate in the case of our game to be like, oh yeah, a bunch of like smart game designers learned a bunch of stuff about these games and what works, and then we can be like, we're gonna add that thing for sure to our game. And it gives us more space, to like work on the other kind of new things that we want to explore as well, which is always nice.
Yeah, it's been interesting trying to balance the mutators and trying to create the generation algorithm to put them into daily runs in such a way that they're actually feel like interesting and not just like completely overpowered or completely too easy and so on.
Yeah, we've got, I mean, for what's worth, yeah, it's not really secret. Like we score all of our mutators and then give you 3 sort of in a range that a bit harder than the base game, but not a lot. And then there's always like whatever clans you play can factor into that. But we've learned over time that like things that are just annoying, even if they're not making it harder, should just be scored higher.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, everything gets damage shield and can take 1 extra hit. It's hard. Maybe it's not that hard, but it's just annoying. So like, yeah, you get a freebie. We'll just score it up. But yeah.
There you go. Mark, do you have any answer to that too? We don't want to skip you before I move on to the next question. Do you want to talk about your launch experience?
Damn, so many people died here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just look at all those corpses.
Yeah, there was like a little bit of inspiration from, I don't know, games like Dark Souls where you leave something behind in the world as you play. So we put this little like dead player feature here. And at first, it's funny, it says plus 20 more. At first it didn't say that. It just had all the names, which could shoot off the top of the screen. The other thing that we discovered in our public beta was like someone had a Steam name that was like 40 characters long, and it started covering other parts of the UI. You can just imagine the troubles you might run into with something like that. Anyway, no, but for the launch experience, it's just been super exciting. I mean, like, yeah, I was stressed. I've been stressed personally, like not sleeping well, but I feel a wave of relief because it seems like people are enjoying the game and we didn't have too many like surprise technical problems. Yeah, so I'm feeling good. We had to like turn the knobs way up on our servers for the cloud servers and stuff. So that was like a little scary, but it all seems to be working. So yeah, feeling good.
Awesome. Okay, so first community question, Godzilla93 is asking, for Anthony, how much Monster Train have you played? And for Mark and Andrew, how much Slay the Spire have you played?
So I've actually been grinding away at it, and I'm up to Covenant 20, and I've won with all of the combinations. So I've been playing a lot, probably more than I should be, to be honest. But I've been playing it, so yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew?
Right. I was just kind of pulling it up. I'm like, how much Slay the Spire have I played? I haven't quite hit 100 hours, but I'm getting close, is the answer for Slay the Spire. So, a little bit. We were talking about it earlier before this, and I'm like, I'm not good at it. I didn't get that far in the Ascension levels, but I do enjoy it. And I like to think that's what matters.
You're making a game and then you're just like, this is another game in the genre, and you're just like, oh, I'm so burnt out on deck building games? Or is it like, hey, I just love these so much, I just have to play all of them in the genre?
Oh, it's definitely all of them. I think, yeah.
And for me, I've played Slay the Spire around 100 hours, and I am on Ascension 3, so I suck, basically.
No.
Do you have a favorite class in Slay the Spire, Mark?
No, I actually,
Say it again.
I enjoy all of them. I've just kind of rotate around. I'm like, I've got them all at Ascension 3, and I've hit a wall, apparently. I just keep trying to get beyond that, but I have not played the new 4th class, though. We're working hard to ship this game and haven't had time to go back to it yet, and I'm looking forward to doing so.
That's fair. Good. Sorry.
I was going to say, we can never choose our own favorite clans, but yeah, I was going to ask if you had any favorite Monster Train combo.
Yeah, I was really enjoying Umbra in general. I think they're incredibly strong. Like
good reason to enjoy anything.
Souls, yeah, and Stygian is also a lot of fun. So I think those two. I'm not sure which ones I like comboed with them the best, but those two are my favorite.
Cool.
Awesome. Now, backtracking, for those who live under a rock and don't know anything about either of these games, can you give a brief descriptor of Monster Train and Slay the Spire?
Wow, that's a hell of a rock at this point. Give it a shot. Mostly for Slay the Spire. We're getting there. Well, here, I'll try it, and then, yeah, you guys, if you want to dive in.
Sure.
So, yeah, largely, I mean, based around other collectible card games, Magic the Gathering is, the big one, and it's draft mode. And then other roguelike or roguelite games, and that's easily more than an hour to talk about what that distinction might be, if anyone cares. But the idea is basically you play a single run against the enemy. So it's you against the enemy, and when you lose, you start over. And as you play through this run, you are going to build up your deck of cards, your collection of cards. You're required to play with all of them. So there is a strong incentive to only pick the best ones that synergize well with what you have. And usually these games are going to throw a variety of different challenges at you. So you want to build things that are like building up your power, that are letting you play defensively, let you take on a bunch of different challenges. Yeah, so a lot of the skill comes from finding cool combos combined with balancing it against not going too far in any one direction.
Yeah, and then I guess how I always describe Slay the Spire to people is I say we take the best parts of Magic or Hearthstone or other card games where you're drafting and building new decks every time you play, and you're fighting in a single player experience. And every time you play, it's different because you're just going to see different cards. There's permadeath, so you're never able to do the same strategy twice. And that's what makes it such an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. It's also great for balance because people can't be guaranteed to get anything that's too overpowered all the time. So you get to make it wild. You get to like do cool things.
Exactly. And that's the big advantage of a single player card game is we can embrace all of that wackiness that I think card game players just love. So
Excellent. So another community question from Menshi. What are your favorite tabletop games and what lessons did you take from them? Let's start with Mark.
My favorite tabletop games. I have to think about that. I think my favorite one is Seven Wonders. If you haven't played that before, it's a, I guess, kind of resource-oriented trading game a little bit. And I'm going to butcher the description. It's been maybe like a year since I played it, and obviously with COVID-19, we're not playing board games too much these days with friends, or at least not meeting up in person to do so. But yeah, you like trade resources, you make decisions in secret, and then the decisions are revealed basically, and then you can buy things from other players. I don't know. It's an interesting game. It supports, I think, initially it was 7 players, now it's 8 with expansions. Yeah, it's really social, fun, relatively quick, relatively easy to teach, so I like that game.
yeah, Seven Wonders is a good, I describe it as like the ultimate drafting game because it's all about the drafting mechanic between other players.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's nice because you like play at the same time as everyone else. Like you all get to draft at the same time. You don't have to wait on people to take their turns, which is great about that game.
Andrew, what are you saying about people taking their turns?
Oh, people can be slow. You know what I'm saying?
I've played board games with people who take like 10-minute turns, and you're just kind of nodding off.
Right. And you still like, I think in this you still have to kind of wait for people to take their time, but like it's everyone's doing it at the same time at least, so you're like not just sitting there. And Dominion, I think is the go-to, but I love Dominion. It's probably a cheat for this kind of game to bring that up, but which has the same thing: randomized starting conditions, drafting cards. Like solo, but also competitive gameplay. Classic.
And do you remember, I got a gameplay question in my daily run here. Do you remember if Remnant Pack and putting Endless on something counteracts permadeath?
No, and it's come up in Discord constantly today, and I don't remember. And it probably means we should clarify that somewhere in the game. Sorry. So
should we just like find out on the stream, and then if it's wrong, we'll feel extra sad and fix it faster?
We're doing it live,
Just
Mark.
All
Do it.
right.
You gotta live your life. All right. Sorry, Anthony. You were saying.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, I used to manage a board game store actually, and so I played countless hours of Dominion and other I played pretty much every deck building board game during my time there. And it was definitely a big inspiration for part of why Slay the Spire got made in the first place, was just because I was playing so many deck building games, and I was thinking, this is a mechanic that really belongs in the digital space. Because one of the worst things with Dominion or games like it is all of the shuffling. And you know what you don't have to do in games like Monster Train and Slay the Spire? Shuffle your deck. Yeah.
That's
But
I
blinders,
like
the
that.
blinders.
I hadn't thought about that, but you were totally right. Maybe it's from playing so much Magic, but I kind of like I find it really cathartic to shuffle. I like shuffling. I'm like, I would just sit there and shuffle decks all the time, even if I didn't have to. I'm just like, I want to. But no, that's a good point.
That's just Stockholm syndrome setting in from too many years of playing Magic. I understand.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm like, if I play Arena or whatever, I'm like, where's the shuffling? Yeah, no, that's. I definitely do like the digital. We tried to lean into some of the digital stuff with Monster Train, like intentionally, like information that would be hard to track in physical games. Like we've got like the enhanced keyword where you can upgrade something, and no matter where it goes, if it dies, if it comes back, it'll stay upgraded. Did some things with permanent upgrades, like not everything, but as like the exception or the occasional rare card. And it's like, all right, this would be a pain in the butt to do with a real card game. Like, how do you even track permanent upgrades on things without, going wild? But with digital, we're like, yeah, it's just.
Yeah, reforming on the melting is like the perfect example of that because it's actually a really cool mechanic, I think.
Yeah, and for the people who don't know, reforming, there's a undead candle clan, and they sort of turn people into candles when they die, which means they get a boost, but they also get a stat called burnout, which makes them when they run out of burnout, they die. So they've got a reform set of cards that let you bring things back and sort of like increase their candle attribute as you do so.
Which we didn't pick. I would have chosen that path, but we have the permadeath mutator on in this run. And I also just let my champion die, so we'll see how this Daedalus fight goes.
So can you not like molded a perma-died unit?
I believe not, actually.
That's
yeah.
Melting.
Yeah, the permadeath mutator is purge. When it dies, it purges. When purge, it's gone forever. So there's some advantages, like you don't have to purge your stewards. You can just have them just drift away. I'm
going to be out of units here in a second.
But yeah, they lasted longer than I expected.
Should I let him die or should I push this bomb down? I think I've got a lot of regen. I think my Husk Hermit will survive. Keep him alive or not?
Yeah, we haven't really been talking tactics here.
You're fine.
I like this level of distraction. This is good. All right, new question. Mark, double task. Let's go. This is to Anthony, actually. Sorry. Money is ass. Money's. As some would know, the roguelike deck building genre was dying out until your game came out. How does it feel to know you revived an entire genre of games? No pressure, man.
Yeah, by dying out, I mean, basically, it feels really good. It's cool when you see websites describe things as like Slay the Spire likes. I mean, that's a good feeling, right? I actually am just in general happy that people like you guys in Monster Train are exploring this space now. So I think it's good because these are the types of games I like. That's why I made Slay the Spire. But you don't want to just keep playing your creation until the end of time. You get tired of playing it, right? So yeah.
Awesome. So Radovar is sneaking multiple questions in. I'm just going to make this one run.
He's one of our closed testers. We like Radovar.
Wrong run-on sentence. So
he knows where to find us also, so he can,
Oh, he'll chase you down then if you don't answer it right.
That's right.
Okay, so for both of you, for how long were you working on this game? What were the original abandoned clan ideas? And how did art direction for the game form? I think that's 3 questions, but you hear it.
Oh, God, yeah. Interesting. I'm trying to figure out how to best answer the clan one. I think the answer is not going to satisfy him. Let's start there.
Expectations are set.
It's more of a process answer than it is anything. So like we had a lot of sort of different ideas of what demons in this kind of world that we wanted to create were going to look like. Like it was more of a hell world that was obviously more fantastical and things like that. We didn't want Jesus on a cross fighting you outside the train or anything. So
it was pitched internally. I think I might have been the one.
You're like, let's we're gonna avoid that stuff. This is not Binding of Isaac, which did all that quite well, impressively handled. But yeah, so a lot of it, it's a very mechanics-driven game, right? So we explored a ton of ideas, also inspired by Magic the Gathering, and this is also going back more to process. But the way they develop their sets these days is they do design and they do development. And they do design where they're like, take all of the wild ideas you can think of, don't worry about how you're going to balance it. Put them all together and just kind of play test them as quickly as possible. Put them in and see how you feel about it. So we did that. We created a bunch of different mechanics, a bunch of different things, put them in there, tried them out, and then basically we're like narrowing it down more and more. And especially at the very end, these last few months, it's basically all the content is there, and it's all about shifting numbers in different ways, rarities, all that kind of stuff. And so basically we were like, oh, we know what kind of like things matter we might want in different clans. So we're like, oh, death matters, drawing matters, coins can matter. And some of those things became like sub themes. Some of them became main themes. And then we investigated a bunch of different ideas we were having around clans and tried to have those two things meet up where they could. So the first clan, the Hellhorn, is the first one we made. It was the most straightforward, and I think it feels that way when you play the game. And we're like, oh, red demons and imps, and they do damage, and they get enraged, and they have multiple attacks. And I think, they maybe had a little healing. And we did healing also on Awoken around the same time. We're like, here's, like, anyone would come into a game like this and be like, all right, here's what you got. You got to do some damage. You got to heal some things. Something that happens when you get hit, all of these things we started building. And then we're like, all right, where else can we go? And that's often where the other clans came from. Capacity mattering, and space for the Umbra, and then like spells. How do you get to spells matter? How do you get to like kind of a death matters thing? What other sub themes can we introduce? So like we didn't have a lot that was still on the drawing board in terms of themes or anything like that at this point, because we developed it so much for mechanics first. We do have other ideas that we've had. We have a big spreadsheet of ideas that we're never going to make launch when they came up. And those are the things that will get turned into, hopefully, future clans. We'd love to. We built the game. So every clan you add obviously expands to even more combinations. So adding one more clan turns into a bunch of combinations. And we're looking forward to doing that. So no spoilers on that yet. We do have some cool ideas. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to explore them.
The big spreadsheet of unused ideas is definitely relatable. So
yeah,
I imagine it would be. Yeah.
Process, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to like the other form of it, which is pulling things off of it instead of just adding to it. Which we've been doing for a while.
How about you, Anthony? Do you have stuff you want to say yet, or do you want to
remind me of the question, because that was a long answer.
Yeah. The first part was how long were you working on it? Then abandoned clan ideas, and then art direction in one giant question.
Okay, so we worked on Slay the Spire for like 2.5 years before we launched into early access. And then we were in early access for, I think, a little over a year. And then we launched, and we were complete with it then. So
I guess we didn't answer that one, did we? Oops.
But,
I think we were under 2 years, right, Mark? Is that?
Yeah, we had our prototype in September 2018, so that was 4 months from now. So yeah, we were at 20 months.
Nice, that's good. But yeah, for us, we spent a long time just working on like the Ironclad, and only until the Ironclad was in a really good spot, and we were like, okay, this concept works. All of these mechanics are where we want them. Then we started to work on the Silent as our second class, and then our plan was always to work on the Defect, the third character, in early access. So that's how we did it. But and then we don't like Megacrit is a very small company. It's just it's just me and Casey, my co-founder, and then we have one other person that came in later. And then we had a couple of contractors that we worked with. So we never had like an art director or anything. It was always just like us kind of brainstorming ideas and coming up with things. So just very, very iterative.
Yeah, like your art style, super like distinct and cool. Like I like it.
Thanks.
All right, Mark, it's time. Double time. Can you answer this question? Also play.
Looks like I'm killing the boss, so it's perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Oh, the question.
Yeah.
The same question. I thought it was going to be a different one.
No, I'll give you another one. Okay, so this
feels like a quiz show right now.
It is. I'm enjoying.
Do we win a Rubik's Cube at the end of this? What's the prize?
No, you get to go have that cocktail you wanted.
That's even better.
Okay, so this is maybe going to start an internal fight, but Wonder Slime asked, what inspired you? This is about the name of the game. So why did you choose this name? And it's hard. It's really tough to choose a name. So I'm very sorry, Mark, Andrew, but you're going to have to answer this question. Let's go to Anthony first while you consider your political answer on why you named it this.
Sure. So I actually hate naming especially in games. It's a huge pain. And like Casey and I, we spent, I think, weeks just like sitting on a couch, throwing names at a wall and hating everything just immensely. And then at some point it was like, what about Kill the Spire? And we were like, well, I think Slay is like a better word to start with. And then we weren't even happy with it, but it just kind of stuck because everything else sucked. And then eventually you're like, okay, this name is fine. We'll go with it. But it's a very unhappy and miserable process. Maybe some people are better at naming things, but I'm certainly not one of them. So
that is intensely relatable. Literally my least favorite part of making games is naming it. And yeah, maybe that's not the political answer, but it's very true.
Well, we're like trying to think strategically about a lot of different things simultaneously. Like, how cool do we think it sounds? Like, but we might think something is cool. I've seen this in my career. I have seen dev teams that I've been on and been like, this name is awesome. And then those names like totally fall flat when it comes to like gamers hearing them. And I know that there are people that are going to be like totally fine with the name Monster Train. There's going to be people that don't like it. I mean, we've heard feedback from mostly like, you don't hear feedback about that type of stuff. Or like, your game name is so great. You only hear, I hate your game name, which has happened for sure. And we considered a ton of names, you know, just like Anthony was saying, we, I don't know, did a team-wide brainstorm, wrote down tons of things, like voted on them sort of thing, to see what the top picks were. And I'm going to reveal at least one that I remember. And I know as soon as I say it, someone online is going to be like, you should have done that. That should have been the name of the game, right?
Now I'm curious which one you're going to say.
And so we like considered pros and cons about a lot of them. And I guess first I'll say, here are the reasons that like I kind of liked Monster Train. I thought it was
Monster Train
simple.
Was your idea.
Simple, distinct. It had like potentially multiple meanings. Like there's a huge train in the game. It's filled with monsters. Yeah, and it's big, you know? So I don't know, like it felt like it was appropriate in terms of a variety of elements like that. And just like, it's just simple and straightforward, not complicated. I've seen, I think, I'm a little bit against like pun names, just personally about how I think about choosing games. Cause I don't know, like past experience of seeing that like not land well for games like this in particular. If your game's about comedy, then go for it, right? And I often see a lot of dev teams trying to come up with some things that are funny, like referencing inside jokes or like require deep knowledge about the game you're playing. Anyway, so all that said, those were some of the reasons that I remember. I mean, we made this decision 18 months ago or something, so those are some of the reasons I remember about going forward. I think simplicity was like definitely up there, but there were like a lot of ideas that were more like somehow communicate that it's a card game in the name. That was like one of the themes of like different types of names that were proposed. And so like one was called Hell Hand as an example of another name. Andrew, was that the one you thought I might say?
No, although I do remember that one. And I recall the reason we dropped that one is because HH is the worst like series of letters. There's a very bad person in history who, you know, that might evoke. So
that's true. It's not a great acronym. I completely agree.
It's not a great acronym. So yeah, no. And I think the worst feeling in game development, they probably don't teach you this in game dev school or anything, is like when you come up with that name you know is a perfect name for your game, and then you go look and someone has already named something that.
Oh yeah.
And
super
you're like,
common.
Yeah, we were gonna go with like just Spire at some point, but that was like definitely taken. So
right. And you're like, yeah, one word names are probably the perfect thing because no one can be too offended at one word names. Like you're just like, but at this point, almost everything is already named something. So yeah, I think like, yeah, being punchy, being interesting, trying to get as close as you can to what you're doing. But, you know, I think end of the day, as long as you draw some attention and then people aren't offended by it, you've probably got a decent name for a game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So Anthony, they want to know, is it weird knowing that people are creating Monster Train mods for Slay the Spire?
What?
wait, actually, that's really cool. So that's interesting. I am really a big fan of modding in games, just in general. So that's why we tried to support modding as much as we did. And by all means, I always encourage modding creativity. So I might try it at some point. That sounds interesting.
How did you guys do modding in Slay the Spire? I've seen that mods exist, but I don't know how it works.
So here's how it worked. Our game is written in Java, so people decompiled the code and started modding it.
Yep.
And then we were like, we just kind of let them do their thing, and then we were like, okay, well, we'll try to like integrate this in now in a more official capacity, and we just never shut it down, basically. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. Some people are like, I mean, we're in Unity, and they're like, we already know how to do this. You guys, once you're out, it's like, cool, go for it. Yeah, I mean, in general, agreed, right? There's nothing too precious about this. Like, if something is going to make you happier playing this game, like, change it, go for it.
Yeah, that's the common question. Like, are you going to have mods? That's the common question. But and Mark answers this question every stream, and I ask you every stream because it's very common. Everyone wants to know, what's your plans for modding in the future for Monster Train?
Yeah, so like I've said in my other streams, I feel like I don't know enough about what the modding community wants for a game like this to have a great answer. And so my answer is I want to hear from people who want to create mods for Monster Train and like what type of stuff they want to do. And then we can think about how that would fit in with our kind of development pipeline and how the assets work and so on, to try to create ideally an accessible way for people to get stuff into the game. So yeah, I want people who are interested in modding Monster Train to come into our Discord and tell us what they're interested in doing so that we can talk more about it. I mean, I assume it's things like put your own characters in the game, put your own cards in the game. What else? What else do you guys want?
Googly eyes, that's what they want.
Googly eyes. I did see that at one point that was one of the top ones for Slay the Spire.
Yeah, can't be beat.
And overall, I think the answer on our end is definitely we both hear the demand and want to support it. A lot of our focus has been on launch, but hey, it's out there now. I think we got a few bugs to fix, but it is something that is going to be on our radar at this point going forward.
Sigerman says they want the Spire to scream, "Oh yeah," like the monster man every single time they get there.
That is a mod I will personally install, Sir Gorman, as soon as someone makes it.
Excellent. Okay, Medkit757 wants to know, what was your favorite broken strategy that didn't make it to the full game?
Oh God, I know I have some.
I mean, card draw in the demo and the public beta was pretty broken with the Awoken clan.
Yeah.
It was too easy, though, right?
It was far too easy. Like, my favorite ones are the esoteric ones. I feel like I would have a good answer I'll have a good answer like when I'm lying in bed tonight, not falling asleep. I'll just wake up and be like, that was the answer to that question. But offhand, I'm not sure.
I mean, we had so many, and like we had so many broken things in early access too, that got axed or toned down later. So, because because we were doing weekly updates every week, like live. So for a while it was just kind of, we'll see what happens, and we just kind of people got to experience all kinds of broken stuff. So yeah, I don't think I have like a specific instance of one.
If you think that was hard, this will be your favorite. Starting with Mark, what's your favorite industry career moment? Think of everything you've ever done now.
Industry career moment. I mean, the easy answer would be like, I'm super proud about Monster Train. It's by far the biggest and best original game I've worked on. And I say that honestly. I do say that really honestly. I've worked on some games that are considered to be in my career. Like, I lucked out and very early on got to work on some fantastic games. Like, I was an intern at LucasArts when Grim Fandango was made, when Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 was made. So those are some very well-reviewed games that are loved. But, I didn't really feel like I had a huge impact personally as an intern. It was probably at the time a complete idiot who wasn't like adding any value to the project. Yeah, I mean,
Was it when the community thought that you and Andrew made the game all by yourselves in your basement?
Yeah, somebody did ask me when I was streaming, did you make everything personally? And I had to admit that I did not.
And you said yes. Oh.
Yes, it was all me. No, he was generous with everyone.
He's like, I had some help. No.
Yeah.
Air toss.
I mean, so I started Shiny Shoe almost 9 years ago now, in 2011. And so, I mean, that was a proud moment getting it going. And there was all kinds of hard times where we were about to go bankrupt and so on. So I feel like the perseverance of getting to where we are now is really satisfying. So I do feel like this is potentially going to be the most meaningful high so far.
Yay. All right, Andrew and then Anthony.
All right, refresh my memory on exactly the question.
Your favorite career moment.
Okay. I'll just tell a fun game dev story, and then we can go from there. So one time I worked on an MMO. You could share quests with other people. And we had a new game designer who was actually a friend of mine, and he made a quest. It was just like a little test thing. We were in beta, and it's like, you have a little test island. No one's ever going to get to it. And it was like Lex Luthor gives you a quest to get the head of Superman and bring it back to Lois Lane. And it's entirely not an IP that was in our game, totally original fantasy world. And what happened was somehow some little number got corrupted in the live version of the game after beta where someone got this quest. One person just sort of like got it. And then they started sharing it with everyone, and everyone else shared it with everyone. And suddenly everyone in the game had a quest to kill Superman. And we had to figure out how to get that rolled back out. And I think that's just the nature of interesting games where something can emerge from it that you really don't expect as a developer. And I sort of look forward to what's coming with Monster Train and all of that now that so many more people are playing it.
How do you walk that back, though?
We had to, turn off the ability for it to be shared. And then every time you entered a major city in the game, it was just taken away from you. We had these like regions around the city that could run some scripts. And so I'm sure someone out there probably still has it hiding in the wilderness with this quest because they didn't want to give it up. But yeah.
My precious.
Online worlds are a lot more like cyberspace than people think sometimes. Like they're really, you are not omnipresent or omnipotent. You don't know everything that's going on. So one of the joy of games.
Okay, Anthony.
Sure. So this is a tough one. So Slay the Spire is our first professional game for Casey and I actually. So, however, probably the favorite moment is like the first time I got fan mail from someone who was just gushing about how much they loved Slay the Spire and how much it like meant to them, and it was just a really cool experience to read that and think, yeah, okay, we're doing something right. People are liking what we're doing. So that was definitely it.
All right, I'm not pushing anything here. I'm just saying that Was Demons would like to know if someday there might be a crossover because they really want Ironclad to be a part of the Hellhorn clan.
Maybe.
It's a lot of pressure right now for all of us.
Just saying.
Just see what happens. Yeah,
All right, moving
see
on.
what we can do. I like the idea.
Okay, Twitch Prime Cantrip 7 says, I love game. I know these names are awesome. I love games where the monsters are the good guys. Any personal significance from the team on that?
Whew. All right.
Why did we do that in the
Where's
first place,
Redbeard?
Andrew? I don't remember. Even from the very
the
first
answer is
prototype, that was the case.
It was the case. I think the answer was like when we were getting into this sort of tower defense. So there's two answers, I think. And someone brought this up, but I think we have to call it out. So a game that I played that has definitely, like, just by sitting in the back of my mind, had some influence on this game. It was called out by one of our testers. I don't know if anyone really played it. It's a Final Fantasy game called My Life as a Dark Lord, and you like defended a tower, and things came in and like rolled up it. And it was a game I played a long time ago. Never got super popular, but it was like, oh, it'd be kind of like interesting if that was explored. And I think at least in part, that's where some of the ideas of the original prototype came from. So that was like a monsters versus humans. I think it just feels so very done. Like if you're just like, hey, look, you're defending yourself from monsters. You're like, there's a lot of games where you defend yourself from monsters, but there's not a lot of games where you defend yourself from the good guys. That said, we also wanted to do a thing where we wanted you to at least perceive yourself as the good guys. So we chose aesthetics that pushed you towards reading your own units as more beneficial than the enemies. Like the enemies all have these masks on and they feel kind of cold and sterile and they're muted colors, and you have all the colors and you have all the cool things. And that was important to us as well. And like, maybe you could look into it and be like, well, there's two sides to the story or whatever. But in this case, the way that you should read it, at least at first glance, is that this is the side you want to be on if you were given a choice.
Cool. Anyone else? All right. So Star Wars fan 2296 asks if either of you or all of you have a worst bug during development that you can remember. Your favorite worst bug.
I mean, I don't think I do, because we're talking about thousands of bugs. I mean,
You're like, I love them all.
And you love them all, so
it's like a never-ending stream of pain and horror, you know. So I don't know if I have a favorite. Sometimes you'll get like a bug that creates an interesting visual glitch, or when you're developing things, so like, you know, you'll have like particles streaming all over the screen, and then that can make an amusing GIF or something. But outside of that, there's like nothing that jumps out at me.
I've got one from Monster Train, or the hardest bug, and people familiar with the development will know what it was. So we put a unit in the game called Legion of Wax. It's in the Melting Remnant clan. It's one that splits when it dies, and there's a couple of units in the game that do similar things, but this one splits the most. It splits from 1 into 2, and then 2 into 2 more, so there's just, it felt like it was going to take our entire lifetime to get all the bugs out of that, and just every time we're like, we really got it. Like, we got all the bugs out of this game, out of the Legion of Wax, excuse me. It's going to be perfect. Some player in our private beta would be like, hey guys, found another one. And it's just like, again, and again, and again, and again. And I think, I'm not going to promise this, but I think there are no bugs with it now with regards to like the damage preview. So as I'm playing here, you can see that like we're showing you how much damage, if you just hit end turn right now, how much damage everybody would take, or if they would die and so on. Like, that's especially where there were a lot of bugs with it, but it feels like we're past it. And there were definitely some lessons about how we kind of architected the code base that could have made it easier that we are thinking about in the future. But yeah, that was the most hellish bug on Monster Train for sure.
Yeah, I think the thing, about these games, part of the fun is all the combinations. Like you can combine everything. Anything can show up with other things, and they do something, and that's like the pure joy of it. But also like the development, you just probably gonna spend half your time coming across something you didn't think about, you didn't see coming, and we deeply appreciate our testers for helping us find. I won't say all of them either, but I will say a lot of them. I am sure there are still more in there. There's so many combinations and so many more people playing now. And it's, if you're ever thinking about making a game like this, I think it's just going to be your life. So just be ready for it. But it's worth it. You get all these cool combinations.
Before we started the stream, Wonderbot was playing the credits at the end of the game. And the testers love this. Like, they're so thankful you put their names in there. That was really great of you guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate them.
Yeah,
they contribute so much. It's just this sheer just putting hours into finding all that stuff and seeing it all happen. There's, as far as I can tell, no other way to discover all of the things with combinations that could possibly go wrong and be able to address them. So they're playing the game and contributing to that, and then also balance. Same thing. It's like getting all the data from so many runs is just not something a development team like ours could ever really do. So they definitely earned their spot in the credits.
Okay. So Atomic Wraith Form wants to know, what was personally the most satisfying part of the game that you were the most proud or happy to do? Mark, go! How long you're playing?
we're most proud or happy to do. I think some decisions that we made about how we handle some of the multiplayer kind of architecture and sharing in Monster Train is really cool and paid off dividends more than I would have expected initially, even when we decided to implement the feature. Something that we're doing that I think is like kind of weird, but also seems so cool, and I hope the community picks this up, because we still don't yet have proof that this is going to become a thing that really people use, but we put in this like URL scheme is what it's called. So just like http:// you've got monster train : / in our game, and you can create links that you can drop in Discord, you can drop in Slack, you can drop in wherever you talk to people, and just click on and go straight to things like run summaries if you want to show off how great of a run you did, or going straight to a challenge. If I made a challenge, I just wanted to give it to a friend, they can go straight to my custom challenge, and then we can have a private leaderboard together. So I think that turned out, it ended up being less effort than I guess I would have expected, and we ended up like doing more things with that kind of online functionality than I initially anticipated we would be able to do. So yeah, I'm proud with how that turned out.
Okay, Thanos168 wants to know Anthony's thoughts on the Slay the Spire speed running and community in general.
I love the speedrunners. I think it's crazy that they were able to get a run like at 5 minutes or right under 5 minutes or something. It's super impressive. I'm pretty good at Slay the Spire, but I am terrible at going fast. So those are the kind of feats that I can never do. But we always like encouraging the speedrunners. We created like a channel in our Discord just for them. Yeah, and I think it's great.
Did you implement any game features specific to speedrunning that you felt like helped foster that community? I'm curious about it because we've had some people asking us about it now.
I mean, not all that we did was the leaderboards for it for fastest runs, and then just having a clock, but nothing like beyond that. So it maybe do more, but it'd be interesting to see.
I think I was just captivated by Mark's gameplay, and we need to still answer the question, Anthony and Andrew, about your proudest moment.
Oh yeah. I guess
I'll let Anthony. Yeah.
Okay. So this is for the proudest like gameplay thing that we added into the game.
Yeah, like what were you satisfied with? What made you proudest of creating?
I was really happy with how the Ascension system turned out. I don't think that kind of thing has really been done before, and I think it's such a strong departure from like easy, medium, hard, especially for roguelike titles where you can give people something where they can actually see themselves progressing and getting better at the game. And I'm really hoping that other games kind of take and use systems like that, like Monster Train's doing the Covenant system. So I really like how that turned out from a design perspective.
Yeah, related to that, and then I'll answer the question as well. Like, obviously, our Covenant system inspired by Slay the Spires, and like we actually we did it with less granularity to start with, or like we did what we have right now from like Covenant 0 to 1, which is more of like an onboarding thing. So like Covenant 0, it's kind of like a tutorial, learn the basics, and Covenant 1's kind of like the real game starts here. We originally had even more kind of before that Covenant 1, and so much of it was just kind of like hard to explain or get across. Like we're like, oh, let's try an Ascension system. Let's see what we can learn about this system and see if we can use it as more of an onboarding. And it kind of turned out in the end, actually, that like the simpler system worked out a lot better. We went to a much more simple system. And like it was like, oh, challenge also will sort of teach you, and then we can have more challenge beyond that. But even having sort of a base game that had a pretty high level of challenge ended up being more appealing to people who were going to play this kind of game than not, which I thought was super interesting. And then proudest moment. I don't know if it's proudest, but a moment I liked. So one thing we did come across in the development of this sort of run structure of the game, and this I think also again speaks to process and kind of like the way we like developing games, is we made, I think it was a artifact that duplicates. So like when you pick up this artifact, it duplicates a card in your deck. And maybe it was like 2 or 3 copies or whatever it was, but like you pick up this passive object and it was like, oh, I'm going to give you some copies of what you have. And it turns out like that was just super fun to get and use. And it just added like a lot of possibility space. Like the choice from the base level was always different depending on what you already had. And what it did to your deck and your strategy was always interesting because it let you sort of expand things. And basically what we did was like we recognized sort of the fun factor there. And then we're like, yeah, let's try integrating this more. We tried it out in merchant shops for a while, and that didn't work out. That was a little too common. But now it's a node map. And I think it's sort of core to what doing a run in Monster Train feels like, is pretty accessible ability to take a card that you have that's pretty good and duplicate it. And I think it adds a very interesting layer. Like our goal was really to like, and if you want to talk like a little bit about divergence from Slay the Spire, this is a little more like, and I'll use a very brief analogy that hopefully some people latch onto, is like what Blizzard did with Heroes of the Storm compared to other MOBAs. So a lot of other MOBAs, Dota, things like that, they were very kind of finely tuned and constrained and controlled. And Heroes of the Storm was like, we're going to put out some wild wild champions. Like, you've got this guy who's in an egg, and whenever he dies, he goes back to his egg, and he can hide his egg and respawn. And you're like, how does that possibly work in a competitive game? And it sort of does if you get the numbers dialed in. So our goal was to be like, how wild can we let you build your decks by the end of a relatively short run, like around an hour? And duplicating was something we discovered along the way that got us to a point where you could really push them a lot further. And I thought that was like, I'm pretty happy we both discovered that and decided to lean in harder on that as well.
Yeah, I think the duplicates work really well with your card upgrade system too, like in the unit and Magic Shop.
Yeah. And even the card upgrade system also came on like a little bit mid-development where we're like, oh, actually, like this thing's a pretty cool way to expand because, yeah, obviously the upgrades in Slay the Spire are like a meaningful part of deciding where you want to take your deck. All right, once you have it, which thing am I going to upgrade? Am I going to heal? Am I going to upgrade? And I think there's definitely things we learned that we were not able to apply as well. Also more for like later. In terms of what kind of upgrades work and what don't, that I'm like super looking forward to either investigating more in something like DLC, Monster Train 2. You know, I'm hesitant to even say that because like, who knows, right? But like there's a ton of lessons to upgrading that I foresee whatever we do next, like playing into because they're just so much fun to like interact with. And I also think they could be like, you could do a lot with them that we weren't able to do.
For a decent chunk of time in Monster Train, you could upgrade a spell or a unit as many times as you wanted. So there was like 6 or something pips down the side. And
yeah,
it just started to get degenerate in too many runs. It was just like, all right, the thing you do is
the
you
kill,
upgrade this
the kill
one thing
floor,
as many times as humanly possible.
Yeah, that was the design tension, was like the kill floor. Even now, like it exists for sure. Like you're like, this is my favorite floor. This is the good floor. But for a while, it was like that was the only floor. Like, let me just make it huge. So. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I had.
All right, so when you finish an amazing book, you want to go on to the second one after that, and it's no different with this game. So sorry, but I know we just launched the game. The question is out. Mole23 wants to know, what does the future hold for your games? Is more content or a new game in the pipe? Also concerning DLC, at what point in development are those being worked on? Like, say, The Watcher, was it always going to be there or envisioned later? I guess they're asking for like the process of if you decided to add something, how does that work? And is there something planned? Do you want to reveal anything about Slay the Spire, Anthony, on our stream that you've got planned?
I don't think we'll reveal anything about Slay the Spire. We will have some kind of an announcement within the next month for sure. But yeah,
well, I'm excited now.
But in terms of our studio, we're definitely going to be looking to make more games. So we've been, we're going back to the idea board and starting to look at prototype ideas, things like that for whatever our next title is. Because Casey and I, we're not done making games now. We're gonna keep going and keep working on it. So, in terms of The Watcher, we didn't know exactly that The Watcher would be The Watcher. We just knew we wanted another character. And what we did is our process is super iterative. So what we did is we had a bunch of ideas and then we kind of culled them down into the idea that we thought had the most merit. And then we like made up an internal prototype, showed it to a couple people, got feedback, and then went from there. So, and then that's what became The Watcher. So for us, it's always super dependent on our testing and our prototyping. That's like how our studio works. So.
Yeah, and then I guess for us, we have a lot of, like I said, that whole document of things we'd love to do. A lot depends on launch, which, looks like it's going well. So we're excited to dive into it. I think Clan is the kind of thing we'd look at for some kind of potential big update or DLC. We're not really sure where we're going to take things there yet. The very first thing we're going to do, though, that we want to do as sort of a free update is we want to get out new mutators. Like, we saw a bunch of people pick up custom challenges, like even more than we expected, start sharing them in the beta, which was too late for us to start adding new content to the game, really. But we want to support basically where we see the community headed, and we saw a lot of that. Whoa, Rhapsody just hosted us or rated us. 176 people getting rated. All right, hey guys. We're just
I thought you said rated us at first. I was like, did we get an A?
Yes, he rated me 3 out of 5 stars.
Oh, he's on next as well, so he's gonna be on here. But lost my train of thought. This raid is highly distracting. Right, updates. custom challenges, mutators. We got a bunch of mutator ideas. Throw more at us in Discord. We're just gonna harvest your best ideas and put them in the game, probably basically as quickly as we can. So that's basically the plan. We want to expand what daily challenges offer. We want to expand what you can use in your custom challenges. So if the community wants to see some stuff, please let us know.
Okay. Sir Gorman would like to offer up, Anthony, Slay the Spire 2 Electric Boogaloo is the suggestion feature.
All right.
It's a good one.
All right. So last question. Andrew, you're last because this is basically made for you. Billy the Banana says, from a design standpoint, what are the advantages and disadvantages of building a game around the deck building mechanic, and specifically for Monster Train, what do you feel worked well, or there was elements you rejected that wouldn't work well? What were those? So
okay. Oh, that's
last Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony first, then Mark, then you. I know you, Andrew. You're gonna take this whole 20 minutes.
Sorry, do it.
Okay, so so what are the advantages of doing a deck building game? Basically, how I think about it is a deck building roguelike gives you the ability to create kind of a near infinite amount of possibility space. So where every time you play, you're actually getting such a different experience. Where in a lot of roguelikes, that's kind of the case, but not really. Like deck builders truly do let you incredibly vary up every time you play, and you're gonna just get so much replayability out of it as a result. And I think that's just one of the big advantages. So
Andrew, go. I was distracted by playing. I'm trying to win this run before the stream ends.
I like your commitment. Actually, yeah, you might get through it. Get that score on the daily challenge leaderboard, which is also something at one point we should talk more about. Anyway, okay. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, Anthony basically has it, right? Like, our goal is to create as many sort of like interesting brain puzzles that we can. And the randomness plays into that, and you balancing all these different factors plays into, like, you get to upgrade these different pieces of your whole construction from all these different other pieces. There's so many different ways to modify it and so many different things we can throw at you, that it is really kind of the perfect way to approach those kind of things. And it's really kind of, the joy of playing through it. So every time you're going to have a different mix of things, which is inherently going to give you a different set of problems. Plus the random draws means that when you're playing that experience, even then you have not been able to craft it exactly into the thing that's going to be optimal. Because like an optimal answer is an incredibly boring answer. And kind of every answer that like, you're like some version of optimal, and there's a lot of different versions of optimal, makes it a very, very interesting thing to sort of like think about and interact with. So, which I'm sure most people sort of realize whether or not they think about it that way. Once you're playing the game, you're just like, oh yeah, here's a new problem for me to solve every single time you're making a choice.
Awesome. So any last thoughts as we wrap up here? Where can we find you, Anthony? If we want to buy Slay the Spire, where will we find it?
Slay the Spire is on Steam, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, mobile soon. So you can see me on Twitter at Megacrit or StimHacked is my personal Twitter. So yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no, thanks for showing up. We learned about it this week. We're like, what? That's amazing. We played a bunch of that game. I guess the other important thing is if you own Slay the Spire on Steam, you do get an extra 10% off of Monster Train alongside the 10% off you normally get. So, if you're a fan of those guys, check it out.
Exactly. Okay. Any last thoughts, Mark? Are you almost done?
I'm really focused on this. I've gone to the ultimate speed mode, the ludicrous speed. I think there's a chance.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we're on Seraph. Can we just hold the stream and see what
No,
happens? He's dead.
Yay!
You got him? All right. I knew you could
perfect
do it.
timing.
Even though.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
On a high note. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys.
I don't think I'm going to get a top score though, because I took almost no trials, and I know probably our top players did.
Yeah, but you were like juggling, patting your head, all these things at once. I think you get extra credit for that. Good. Okay, so huge thank you to all of you guys for coming on the show. Stay tuned, everyone in Twitch and Steam. Rhapsody is up next as we continue our celebration streams for, like another 5 hours.
Yeah, personal favorite, Rhapsody. Also, just shout out to Rhapsody.
Yes.
Really one of the first streamers kind of pick us up or really early on in public beta and just get us out there. It's super cool. We really appreciate it. I'm gonna hang out. I'll hang out and chat. We'll chat with people watching. So.
Yay.
Thanks
All right,
for having
Mark.
me, guys.
Magic
All right.
buttons for you.
Bye,
Congrats
everyone.
on your launch.
Oh, thank you. All right. Yeah.